Welcome to the Harper Tech Academy, and today we're looking at the second Microsoft Azure Titanic predictor. If you haven't seen the setup, go back and actually get this set up for your Excel, and logging in your Microsoft Azure is very, very important. So the first thing that you need to do is actually go back to your OneNote, and you'll notice that there is the Titanic raw data set. We need to download that either onto your computer. In your Teams, in the general channel files, you'll also find the same data set there ready for you to download. Before we start, we need to actually have a look at this data set. Now, what it is, and this is just the Excel open, is the P class. Basically the class they're in, so were they in first, second or third? Did they survive? So a 1 is yes, a 0 is no. Their name, their gender, their age, the ticket, this SIB SP is basically did they have siblings or not, their fare that they paid, the cabin, where they embarked from, and their home. Now, as you can probably realize, that if we were to predict someone's survival at sea, where they came from, their home destination, is probably not going to be a good marker for that. So we're going to talk about how we use these data sets to actually come up with conclusions before we even start to apply any machine learning. Now, we're actually going to go into our Microsoft Azure Learning Studio. The really awesome part of this is actually exactly the same workspace that a developer would use for AI. It's free. Parts of it are free forever. Parts you can get a year subscription and then pay as you go. So the first thing we're going to do is go to data sets. And we need to upload that data set that you've downloaded onto your computer. Now, if you are not seeing a screen with new at the bottom, it's probably because you're on a small display and you need to hit F11. So when you hit new, you'll see here just click, and it'll actually ask you to upload the data set. So you'll see here I've already got the data set in there. All right. Once that's done, all right, then we're going to move to the experiments page. Hit new, and you'll see here there's a whole range of different experiments that you can use. So we're going to go with a blank experiment, and we're going to title it Titanic Predictor 2020. Okay, so that's the first part. Now let me just show you. You'll see it looks quite complicated, and it is quite a deep pool. That's why I'm doing the video. You'll see here that you have a range of different areas. Now it's a visual interface, so it's a drag and drop, and we take some of that code and we drag that straight in. So the first part of this is where we've got to add our data set. So I've got saved data sets, my data sets, and the Titanic raw data set, which I'm then going to drag in and drop in there. So you'll see here now I have my first part of this map. Now the mini map is here to show you the overall as we build. So from here we're going to type in columns. We're actually going to choose select columns and drag that in. Now you'll notice here that we need to connect. So we're actually going to connect our database into the select columns. So then we're going to click into select columns in the database, and we're going to launch a column selector. Now, as I showed you before with our data set here, you'll see we have the columns up above. Now at this point we need to choose what those columns, which ones we're going to look at. So we're actually going to add P class. So when I highlight that, I can actually add that into the selected columns. Survived is a good gender. And you'd say, well, why is gender important? Or it's sex on here. And basically what happened was people in first class got off the boat, but they actually put the women and the children on the boats first. So they were more likely to survive than, say, someone who was a male in the third class. Age had a lot to do with it too, because if you were young, you got on those first boats. And also how much you paid for your fare is going to be a good indication. Now, as you go through, you can go back and tweak these types of things. So we're going to hit that. So now we've chosen our data set. So now we need to add our next thing, which is split. So you're actually going to type in split data. And we're going to choose this, and we're going to drag split data in. All right, at this point, you need to connect them. So you'll see here when I hold it up, it basically will come up through here. Now, we need to talk about why we split data. So in a machine learning model, we're actually going to split the data 80-20. And what that actually means is the machine learning algorithm is going to take 80% of the data in the data set, and it's actually going to churn through that information. You think of big databases could be billions of different things. Now the 20% we're going to use later to evaluate the model at the end. So it's going to check back to make sure that it's an accurate summation of what the machine learning algorithms have done. So to do that, you'll see here on this split data, we want 0.8 of that data to be used. So that's done. Okay, so now just check 0.8. So that's the split. So now we need to train the model. All right, so we're going to put in train model, and then that we'll actually end up with this one here, which we're going to drag in. Now, what the train is, we need to train the model to actually go through and bring that data in and put it through in a logical way. If it's not logical, it's just not going to work. So we're actually going to link this port to our split data. And it can be a bit finicky there. There we go. So drag from there. You'll see when I open up, this will tell me what I can put in. At the moment, I can't hook that up, whereas if I hold that, it says yes, you can hook it to this one and this one. Okay, now next step is an algorithm. In general, an algorithm is just a program which goes through predetermined steps to come up with a solution. Now, they've become very complex as we've moved. It's been 30 years with the internet and Google. They use very complex algorithms. We're actually going to get a two decision forest class decision algorithm, which we're now going to drag in. Now, this is now going to work with each. So I'm going to drag some of these things up at this point. Okay, so with my two class decision tree, you'll notice when I hold the train model, it will actually tell me, hey, you can hook it up to this. So at this point, just going through, is we've taken in our raw data set. We've actually decided to select the columns that we want to choose for this data set. We've then split the data 80/20, we're actually starting to prepare to train the model. So the train the model will hook up to the data, and it will also churn through our algorithm. So this is the end of the first video, and please watch the second and the third. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time at the Harper Tech Academy.